This is my first time doing something like this. I normally don't cover DLC characters individually in videos beyond shorts like what I used to do, i.e. the one short I did for Rosfield, and that's about it. But I was taking a break in between editing DMC2 because, man, just looking at my footage for that game is fun draining. Oh, yeah, by the way, what exactly is this? This is a series that'll run on so long as I have fighting games to talk about that have DLC characters coming to them that I will enjoy talking about. Even if the character is someone I don't like, but hey, I like the game in question, so we're just gonna keep going with that. This is Dig into DLC. So let's start with someone who's relatively recent, and a nice way to start off the year as he's still fresh in people's minds. Clive Rosfield in Tekken 8.
Believe it or not, any objections?
Clive Rosfield!
Clive was someone I really didn't want in Tekken 8. I didn't want another sword fighter that wasn't Yoshimitsu being handled by the Tekken crew that was going to feel underwhelming and very disappointing. But then I got my hands on him and I started watching him. Not in that order, obviously, but hey, we've all said things in strange orders before, who hasn't? But yeah, I watched a lot of people play Clive. I then got the game myself and played Clive, and I started to feel joy. I was happy that Clive was actually fun. And I can break all of that down later, but I just want to say I'm genuinely not disappointed. Compared to Noctis and 7, I feel like Noctis was a downgrade from what he could have been in Tekken. He was playing Tekken, and the whole point of a guest character is sometimes to just not play the game they're in. Meanwhile, Clive, he's playing Soul Cal 6 and like some weird fighting game version of FF16 all at the same time, and I fucking love it. Let's get into that. Clive, like two others on the roster, carries a weapon, but that weapon is an extension of the crazy shit he can do, and not all that he can do. The sword is oddly balanced in a way, having the ability to poke your opponent from afar and do some nice sweeping attacks while also being great if you're up in your opponent's face. But you will get stuffed by faster options of the game, so watch yourself as you go about using his moveset. His moveset covers the Final Fantasy Big Sevens that most people would know. Shiva, Garuda, Ifrit, Leviathan, they're all tied to specific moves that'll be key to how you approach your opponent, but like I said before, they can get stuffed if you aren't careful. Oh, and there's also this. What the fuck, man? That shit is so grimy, like, why is this move like this? He also has a dog named Torgal. Torgal is a good boy. Torgal comes out of a decent amount of moves, and these moves can range from flinging him at the opponent for a nice follow-up, or just crossing your legs while you get covered in ice. And of course, there's this. Hi, Editing Sosuke here. This was supposed to be a segment demonstrating a move Clive has where he kicks you and then slashes at you, but when he slashes you, he says, "Get him, boy," and Torgal runs across the screen. But the OBS encoder settings are a pain in the nuts, and I'm currently running like tests in the background while I'm like editing this video. It's very late right now, and I'm sorry this happened. Anyways, back to the video. Things like that add to Clive, but there are two that make him a little more unique compared to our other weapon wielders. I mean, more so unique than what I've already described, but these things could also be disgustingly fucked up to hit people with. The Phoenix Shift and the Zantetsu Engage. Let's start with the easier of the two to explain. The Phoenix Shift, done by pressing forward and right kick or forward 4, as well as holding forward from many different attacks that he can do, for a follow-up that leads into this somewhat of a stance, I guess? Damn, this game actually has a lot of stance characters when I think about it. Well, we'll come back to that in a different video. With that input, he then dashes forward, getting a myriad of follow-ups. One gives an armored overhead that does a decent chunk of damage, as well as this really raw-ass voice line. 4 leads to a slide, 3 is a nice low with a Shiva and Torgal follow-up if you were to press 2 afterwards, but you should be careful, because Phoenix Shift can be beaten out by a lot of buttons. Seriously, like, just jab him out of it if you really feel like doing that. It's okay. So, you shift very carefully if you're going to be using it against opponents, and if you're fighting Clive, remember, you can just jab him out of it or do anything else to get him out of it. But if you're playing Clive, use it carefully, and you'll definitely get some great results out of it. Now let's talk about this gauge. Fun fact, I had a lapse in mental judgment and legitimately thought it was a limit break gauge when I first saw it and got really concerned really quickly as to why the fuck does Clive have limit breaks? No, absolutely not. I then was quickly reminded that it's not limit breaks, it's the Tekken gauge. A meter governed by a multitude of normals that will then give you great benefit if you use them to fill it. These moves are fucking ridiculous because they then lead to unscaled damage that will delete white health. Yes, you heard me correctly. I said unscaled damage across all 5 levels. This shit is nuts. The most useful and in some case beneficial attacks that you'll use to fill this gauge are 1 to 2, a nice quick slashing motion, Phoenix Shift 3-1 plus 2, a nice spinning ground break type move. I've never used it to break the ground myself, but it does that. Nice. And the final one being Phoenix Shift 2-2, where Clive just kind of hits them with Virgil's Rapid Slash like, Odin, where the fuck did you get that? Tekken wasn't that in Final Fantasy VIII. Hell, it wasn't even that in Final Fantasy IV. Where the fuck did you get this from? But, it's whatever. These can be used in short combos or neutral or as combo enders, especially in the case of the last one I mentioned. Like, seriously, this shit will just fuck your opponent over and I think it's gold. Overall, these unique tools make him stand out amidst the DLC characters and the weapon wielders in the roster. But I feel like there's like one thing I'm forgetting. Oh, he can fly and shoot fireballs. This character's goated, never mind. He has everything. Why would you ever play anyone else? Do I recommend Clive to pick up? Hell yeah! He's so much fun and got a lot I didn't talk about since that'd take a lot longer with how I like to do things. Trust me, it's better if I make this shorter. And what I can definitely say is that Clive is a shit ton of fun, who's easy to understand with a skill ceiling that'll have some in the lab for hours on end. Hell, he managed to pry me away from playing Reina exclusively, which is a plus for me since I like playing more than one character, so hey. He's got an interesting kit, 2 interesting gimmicks. I mean, there's a lot more, but the main things are the shit you can see, obviously. And it's Clive from Final Fantasy 16. He's so fucking cool and he reps his game well by doing his own thing. Honestly, I wish more characters like him did that. Hell, 2B did that. And shit, I could talk for a little while about her. Maybe hours, but that's neither here nor there. But that's gonna be it from me. Join me next time when the DLC I dig into is... God, I can't wait. Unless a certain someone from another game comes out earlier, but we'll worry about that later. Until then, I want y'all to have a damn good one, and stay gold. Jana. Shoutouts to Matt the Kid for being my first and current only major Patreon. My Patreon is up for $2, and all I can really say is that the money goes straight back into content. I put this into my computer, and I make better content for you guys. It's a donation, so you don't have to sub if you don't want to. And if you do, I'll try to come up with better things to provide people with as rewards. See you later.